10 most toxic places in the world. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Non-Stop 10s. We're back with another amazing video. This video will keep you shook. Believe me, if I'm about to close a few places you would never want to visit. And even if you visit them, it's life-threatening. The total number of living humans on Earth is now greater than 7 billion, and as this number increases, it becomes more difficult to find places on Earth unaffected by man-made pollution and development. From lead in the soil to toxins in the water and radioactive fallout in the air, here are some of the most toxic places on Earth. And I'm talking about the top 10 most toxic places in the world. Let's get started. At number 1, Agbogbloshie, Ghana. Agbogbloshie is a nickname of a commercial district on the Coral Lagoon of the Odaw River near the center of Accra, Ghana's capital city in the greater Accra region. Near the slum called Old Fadama, the Agbogbloshie site became known as a destination for externally generated automobile and electronic scrap collected from mostly the Western world. It was alleged to be at the center of a legal and illegal exportation network from the environmental dumping of electronic waste from industrialized nations. The Basel Action Network, a small NGO based in Seattle, has referred to Agbogbloshie as a digital dumping ground, where they allege millions of tons of e-waste are processed each year. Lead levels in this area are estimated to be 50 times the U.S. standard for lead in soil. Agbogbloshie is the second largest e-waste processing area in West Africa. E-waste, or electronic waste, contains toxic chemicals that are emitted into the ground, water, and atmosphere when the electronics are broken down, burned, and processed. Number 2. Chernobyl, Ukraine. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant, officially the Vladimir Lenin nuclear power plant, is a closed nuclear power plant near the abandoned city of Pripyat in northern Ukraine, 16.5 kilometers northwest of the city of Chernobyl, 16 kilometers from the Belarus-Ukraine border, and about 100 kilometers north of Kiev. The plant was cooled by an engineered pond which is fed by the Pripyat River about 5 kilometers northwest from its junction within the Dnieper. Reactor number 4 was the site of the Chernobyl disaster in 1986, and the power plant is now within a large restricted area known as the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. Both the zone and the former power plant are administered by the State Agency of Ukraine on Exclusion Zone Management. The 3 other reactors remained operational after the accident, but were eventually shut down by 2000. Although the plant remains in process of decommissioning as of 2021, nuclear waste cleanup is scheduled for completion in 2065. Radioactive dust including uranium, plutonium, and other metals continue to plague the 19-mile exclusion zone around the nuclear plant. Chernobyl is recognized as one of the worst nuclear disasters in history after the Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident in 1986. Once home to more than 14,000 residents, the city today is mostly a ghost town. Number 3. Citarum River, Indonesia. Water in the Citarum River has concentrations of manganese that are nearly 4 times the recommended levels. To illustrate how dirty the Citarum River is, at some places we cannot even see the water. Its surface is completely covered by unimaginable amount of waste, trash, and dead animals floating on it. If we're lucky enough to glimpse the water, we will see it is colored due to the excessive amount of toxic chemicals being dumped into the river by industries, and not surprisingly, since 2008, nearly 60% of the river's fish species have been destroyed. Yet, despite those very poor conditions, the Citarum River is vital for the 25 million people who daily depend on it for agriculture, water, and electricity. The Citarum is the 3rd longest river in Java, but it has been called the world's most polluted river. A range of contaminants are present in the river, from both industrial and domestic sources. The river makes up around 80% of the surface water available, hence affecting the 5 million people who depend on it. Number 4. Derzings, Russia. The water is contaminated with dioxins and phenol at all levels that are reportedly 17 million times the safe limit. A quarter of the city's 300,000 residents are still employed in factories that produce toxic chemicals. According to a 2003 BBC report, it is the young who are most vulnerable. In the local cemetery, there are a shocking number of graves of people below the age of 40. In 2003, the death rate was reported to exceed the birth rate by 260%. The city's annual death rate, 17 per 1,000, is higher than Russia's national average of 14 per 1,000. In the city of 300,000, that translates to about 900 extra deaths annually. The average life expectancy is reported to be 42 years for men and 47 for women. Between 1930 and 1998, more than 300,000 tons of chemical waste was dumped in Derzings. 190 different chemicals have since leached into the city's groundwater, making it one of the worst polluted cities of the world. Number 5. Hazaribagh, Bangladesh. Local residents in Hazaribagh are at high risk of exposure to cancer-causing hexavalent chromium and other skin and respiratory diseases. Aside from the fact that hexavalent chromium is a well-known carcinogen, workers and local residents also face a number of less severe yet more common health problems every day. Skin and respiratory diseases, for instance, result from repeated exposure to hazardous chemicals when measuring and mixing them as part of the tanning process. Acid burns, rashes, acne, dizziness, and nausea are also common health problems faced by local residents. The 2011 census lists the total population of Hazaribagh subdistrict as just over 185,000, though reliable data in relation to residents residing in the informal settlements is difficult to come by. Up to 95% of the registered tanneries in Bangladesh are located in and around Hazaribagh. The tanneries collectively dump 22,000 cubic liters of toxic waste, including cancer-causing hexavalent chromium, into the Buriganga, Dhaka's main river every day. Number 6. Kabwe Zambia. Children's blood lead levels in Kabwe exceed the recommended levels by 5 to 10 times. Kabwe is the world's most toxic town, according to pollution experts, where mass lead poisoning has almost certainly damaged the brains and other organs of generations of children, and where children continue to be poisoned every day. Almost a century of lead mining and smelting has left a truly toxic legacy in the once thriving town of 220,000 people, 100 kilometers north of the capital, Lusaka, and near Central Africa's Copper Belt. But the real impact on Kabwe's people is yet to be fully revealed, and while the first steps towards a cleanup have begun, new dangers are emerging as desperately poor people scavenge in the vast slag heap known as Black Mountain. Lead and cadmium soak the hills of Kabwe after decades of mining and processing, even though the mine was closed years ago. Metals are still extracted from old tailings by local residents. The ground is so contaminated that nothing can be grown. Number 7. Kalimantan, Indonesia. Concentrations of mercury in the Kahayan River in Kalimantan are found to be more than twice the recommended standards. Kalimantan, southern 3/4 of the island of Borneo, that is politically part of Indonesia. The rest of the island is divided between the Malaysian states of Sabah and Sarawak, and between them the small Sultanate of Brunei. Indonesians, however, use the word as a geographic term for the entire island. The origin of the name Kalimantan is obscure. In Sarawak, the term Kalimantan refers to the sago-eating peoples of northern Borneo. For years, Central and South Kalimantan have been poisoned by small-scale gold mining. The problem with small-scale gold mining is that it's often done with mercury. Many miners smelt within their houses, releasing dangerous amounts of mercury vapor that are trapped inside. The metal can also be released into waterways, where it can accumulate in fish and water. Number 8. Matanzas, Richuelo, Argentina. Soil on the banks of the rivers contain levels of zinc, lead, copper, nickel, and chromium that are all above recommended levels. Matanzas Richuelo River is considered the most important waterway in Buenos Aires. More than 3,500 factories operate along the banks of the river, a landscape that also includes numerous illegal sewage pipes running directly into the river. Diarrheal diseases, respiratory diseases, and cancer are significant public health problems for people dependent on the river. Number 9. Niger River Delta, Nigeria. The pollution from the oil spills affect the crops and led to a 24% increase in childhood malnutrition. An average of 240,000 barrels of crude oil are spilled in the Niger Delta every year due to mechanical failure, third-party activity, and many unknown causes. The spills have not only contaminated the surface and groundwater of the delta, but also the ambient air and locally grown crops with hydrocarbons, including known carcinogens like polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. A 2011 report from the UNEP concluded that soil and groundwater pollution levels exceeded the national standards at 2/3 of reviewed locations in and around the Niger Delta. These spills have affected local population health in a number of ways. One article published in the Nigerian Medical Journal in 2013 estimated that the widespread pollution could lead to a 60% reduction in household food security and a 24% increase in the prevalence of childhood malnutrition. This is in addition to the fact that the crude oil is likely hemotoxic and can cause infertility and cancer. At number 10, Norilsk, Russia. Life expectancy for factory workers in this city is believed to be 10 years below the Russian average. Home to the world's largest heavy metal smelting complex, nearly 500 tons each of copper and nickel oxides and 2 million tons of sulfur dioxide are released annually into the air in the city of Russia. This has led to increased levels of respiratory diseases and cancers on the lungs and digestive system. I really wish our priority should be betterment of such places. Humans are so stupid. They should focus on Earth first, then search for life on the moon. What are your thoughts on this topic? Let me know in the comments section, and I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And also, don't forget to hit that like button for more updates.